If you thought the Samsung Health app on both your Galaxy Watch and your phone were just for basic health monitoring and exercise tracking, you thought wrong. And in this video, I'm going to prove that this is far more powerful and far more useful, even for people who aren't fitness fanatics, by taking a deep dive into every single one of these features. And I'm going to be adding this as a companion to my nearly 200-page Galaxy Watch guide, but we'll talk more about that later. For now, we're going to start going through all of these features. And you may notice that your panels are in a different order than mine, and that's because you can customize the order, and I'll show you guys how to do that a little bit later. So the first panel I have here is daily activity, and this gives you a quick glance at how many steps you've taken for the day, your active time for the day, and how many active calories you've burned for the day. And active calories only count calories burned while you're being active. This does not count calories burned when you're doing something like sitting at a desk. If you tap this panel, you'll see how close you are to reaching each of your goals. And if you scroll down a bit, you'll see your total calories burned, and this does count calories burned while resting. And it also shows your distance traveled while being active. Scrolling down a bit further shows your steps throughout the day, and this is broken into hour segments. So I can quickly see that between the hours of 12 and 2, I was most active. Further down, you also have active time. This is how many minutes during each hour of the day you've been active. Activity calories shows you how many calories you've burned in each hour of the day. And I did do a small workout around 12, so this does make sense. Further down, you can see how many floors you've climbed and how many hours you've been active for. And the floors only count when you're going upstairs, not downstairs. And active hours are counted when you stand up and move around at least one time within an hour. So whether you were active for just a couple minutes or the entire hour, active hours is only going to count up once per each hour. The time section shows you how much time you spent doing actual exercises. This does not count time where you're just getting up, walking around. You actually have to start and track an exercise in order to get this to count. And raised heart rate activity is only when your heart rate reaches above a certain level. So even though I worked out for 11 minutes, it wasn't a very intense workout, so I have 0 minutes of raised heart rate activity. Further down, you see your exercise calories burned. These are calories burned while tracking an exercise. So that's why this number is lower than the activity calories burned up here, because these also take into account times where I'm just moving around. Further down, you have a This Week section, which shows you how many days you met all of your goals, and the goals are referring to your steps, active time, and activity calories goals. So if you reach your steps and active time goals, but you didn't reach your activity calories goal, then that wouldn't count as having your goals met. And all the way at the bottom, you have a Show on Phone option and a Set Targets option. Let's start with the Set Targets option. This lets you change your motion, time, and calories targets. So if I tap this, you can see that I can not only change my steps target, but I can also change my floors target and active hours target. And for the time targets, I could change the active time, exercise time, and raised heart rate activity targets. And for the calories targets, I can change my activity target and my exercise target. Tapping Show on Phone opens up the Samsung Health app on your phone and takes you right to the daily activity page. This is where you can look at your daily activity for previous days, or if you tap this calendar icon, you can even look at previous months. And if you tap on one of the graphs, you can see exactly how many steps, active time, and active calories were burned in a specific hour of the day. And you can just kind of tap around to see different hours. And scrolling down just lets you see your motion, time, and calories information. The only other thing you can do from this page is tap these 3 dots in the upper right corner and change your targets from here. While we're on the phone, I also want to point out that if you really enjoy deep dives like this, then you're definitely going to want to check out my nearly 200-page deep dive guide on any Galaxy Watch, ranging from the Galaxy Watch 4 to the brand new Galaxy Watch Ultra. This covers everything from basic features to the more advanced features, and even some hidden features and a bunch of battery saving tips. Tapping the text on any chapter in the table of contents will bring you to that chapter. Then you have a list of the features shown in that chapter, and if you tap one of them, you'll be taken directly to that feature, and you'll be given a deep dive explanation on how to set up and use that feature. And since this guide is nearly 200 pages, it would take forever just to swipe all the way back up to the top. So on every feature page, I have this little arrow here, and if you tap this, it'll take you straight back to the table of contents so you can navigate to another section and get to another feature really quickly. You'll also see these demo buttons all throughout the guide, and if you tap one of them, it's going to take you to the specific part of one of my videos that shows you how to use that feature. And I guarantee you there is nothing else like this on the internet. So if you want to check this out, you can click the product link on the video in the bottom left corner. With that out of the way, let's get back to the features. The next panel is the sleep panel, and it shows you how much time you slept in the previous night, as well as your sleep score. But it'll only show this information if you wore either a Galaxy Watch or a Galaxy Ring to sleep in the previous night. If you didn't track your sleep at all in the previous night, you'll just get these two dashes. And tapping it won't give you any information either. But since I did track my sleep last night, I can go ahead and tap this and get even more information. For starters, I can see when I went to bed last night and what time I got up. And I can also see my actual sleep time, which is the time I spent actually sleeping, not just time in bed. And the sleep score goes all the way up to 100, so obviously I did not get a very good night's sleep last night. Scrolling further down, you can see your sleep stages. And if you want to know what the stages are, you could just scroll down a little bit further, and you can see that the orangish color is awake, the light blue is REM sleep, the purplish color is light sleep, and the dark bluish purple color is deep sleep. And I'll even be able to see the exact amount of time I spent in each of those stages. If I scroll back up a little bit, you can see that it also tracks your movement throughout the night. And this helps you know if you're tossing and turning a lot. Scrolling further down, you get an additional information section, and this is going to look different depending on which Galaxy Watch you have, as well as which features you have enabled. So if you have all of the features enabled, you'll see your minimum blood oxygen for the night, you'll see if any snoring was detected, your skin temperature range for the night, your average heart rate, as well as your minimum and maximum heart rate while you were sleeping, and your respiratory rate. Now, respiratory rate data takes a few days of tracking in order to give you a result. And I've been switching back and forth between this Galaxy Watch and my Galaxy Watch Ultra, testing different things and writing that guide that I mentioned earlier. So I haven't been able to get enough days in a row of tracking yet. Future me here, after getting enough nights of sleep to get a measurement, as you can see, it shows you how many times per minute you took a breath while you were sleeping. Below the respiratory rate is your sleep consistency, and this is a measure of how consistently you go to sleep at the same time and wake up at the same time. As you can see, I rarely go to bed at the same time, but I am pretty consistent with the time that I wake up. And to be a bit more specific, the sleep consistency is a 1 hour window. So if you typically wake up at 7, as long as you wake up between 6:30 and 7:30, that is going to count as consistently waking up at the same time. Further down, you have your recent achievements. So I did get an excellent sleep at some point. It wasn't last night, but I did get one at some point. Going down a little bit further, you get your sleep coaching. And I'll show you guys how to enable this feature in a little bit. And if I scroll down a bit further and tap View All, I'll get a checklist for how to get better sleep. And all I have to do is tap one of these when I've done these different things, and it's going to log that for me. If I go all the way to the bottom and tap Show on Phone, it's going to open up the sleep coaching section of the Samsung Health application, and I can tap the different toggles here as well. See how I did on previous days. And if I tap these 3 dots in the upper right corner, I can see my coaching history. And if I go back, I can see the results from previous coaching. And as you can see, it's a 3-week program, and it'll show you how many habits you've achieved, which I apparently didn't do a very good job of that either. I can also tap the View Sleep Habits section here, and I'll be able to see the results of all 3 weeks of coaching in one shot. Scrolling further down, you can see your average sleep time during the coaching. Down a little bit further, you see your average awake time, and you can see that that did at least improve over the 3 weeks. And scrolling to the bottom, you can see your bed-wake time consistency. If I back out of here, and back out again, and tap the 3 dots another time, I can see the coaching schedule. And this gives me a breakdown of how the coaching is going to work. Tapping the 3 dots again, you can also view your sleep analysis, and this shows you an analysis of your current coaching. If I tap View Sleep Habits, I can see them for the current session, and you can see that I'm not in week 3 yet, so that's all grayed out. And scrolling further down, I can see my average sleep time, awake time, and my bed-wake time consistency. And this even keeps track of your day off sleep time. So if you're someone who typically sleeps in super late on the weekends, that's actually not a good idea to improve your sleep. And this is going to keep track of that. The last 2 options are to quit coaching, which is what I should probably do and start all over again because I've definitely blown it the past couple weeks. So it might be worth quitting and starting again. And the last option is about key sleep factors. And this will give you more information about getting better sleep. And tapping one of these gives you a bit more information as well as a little video that plays. And each one of them have their own video. And lastly, if you tap the animal icon, you'll get more information about your particular sleep habits. And your sleep animal is given to you after you answer the questionnaire when you start sleep coaching. And what it's saying is I basically sleep like a penguin. If you want to see what the other sleep animals are, you can tap the 3 dots and tap all sleep animals. And the goal is to get a sleep lion score. But as you can see, there's a lot of different tiers. And jumping back into the sleep section on the Galaxy Watch, if I scroll all the way down here, you'll see that you get a Show on Phone and Advanced option. If I tap Show on Phone, it's going to open up the sleep section of the Samsung Health app, and this is different than the sleep coaching section. This allows you to quickly see your sleep for previous nights. And if you had a good night's sleep, you'll see your animal get a little more excited. If I tap this sleep time option, it gives me a much more detailed breakdown about my sleep, including time in bed, my sleep latency, which is how long it took to actually fall asleep, my total sleep time, and my actual sleep time, as well as my sleep targets. And these are the targets for when I want to go to bed and wake up. If you have different targets, just tap Change Target and adjust accordingly. If I back out of here and tap Sleep Score, you'll see how your sleep score compares to other people in your age group and everybody. If I scroll down a bit and tap one of these sleep score factors, I'll get a much more detailed description of what that factor means. And that can either scroll through to see all of the different factors, or just tap a different factor and jump right to it. Scrolling further down, you see your sleep stages, and again, as I tap the different days, I can see that change accordingly. And if I tap the sleep stages text, I'll get a detailed description of what each of the stages means. Scrolling further down, you can see your blood oxygen during your sleep over time, and snoring will show you when during the night you were snoring. I know I've got one somewhere. There it is. So you can actually see at which points during the night you were snoring. And if you tap the snoring text, you'll actually be able to play the recordings of your snoring, which is pretty crazy. Skin temperature during sleep shows your skin temperature throughout the night. And if I tap the skin temperature text, it'll give me more information about my skin temperature. Further down, you get your heart rate throughout the night. And you can see this spike here. This is when I got up in the middle of the night. If I tap the heart rate text, I'll be able to get more information about what these heart rate measurements mean. And further down, we get respiratory rate. If I tap this, I can see my respiratory rate each night over time and get more information about how this measurement works. And as you can see here, you need to track your sleep for at least 3 days over a 4-week span to get respiratory rate tracking. I already explained sleep consistency on the Galaxy Watch, so this is just a larger graph of that. And the last option here is sleep coaching, which takes you to the sleep coaching section, which I already showed you earlier. Tapping the 3 dots in the upper right corner lets you either delete that day's sleep information, quickly set your sleep targets, jump into the sleep coaching, see your advanced measurements, and either enable or disable them. So if you don't want to use snore detection or blood oxygen measurements, you can just disable those here. And if you tap the text, you'll get a bit more information about that feature. But if you tap the text for snore detection, you'll actually get some extra options. And you can have it always try to detect snoring, detect it only once, you can have it record the audio or not, and automatically delete the recordings after a set amount of days. Tapping accessories will show you all of your connected devices that are capable of sleep tracking. And tapping about sleep gives you a ton of extra information about sleep tracking, as well as how to improve your sleep. And I almost forgot to point this out. At the very bottom, you have this add sleep record option. If you tap this, you can manually enter your sleep and wake times. And this would be useful if you were charging your Galaxy Watch instead of using it for sleep tracking. And the last option in the sleep section on the Galaxy Watch is this advanced button. If I tap this, it's going to open up the advanced measurements menu that I showed you guys a moment ago. The sleep coaching panel is just a shortcut to your sleep coaching checklist. And if I tap show on phone, it'll open the checklist there. The energy score panel is exclusive to Galaxy Watches running One UI 6 watch or newer. So if your Galaxy Watch is running One UI 5, for example, you're not going to see this. But fortunately, Samsung says they're updating all of their Galaxy Watches going all the way back to the Galaxy Watch 4 to One UI 6 soon, so you should see this soon if you don't have it now. Anyways, the purpose of this feature is to give you a rough idea of how much energy you can expect to have throughout the day. Think of this kind of like a measurement of how much battery life you personally have for the day. If you tap it, you'll get a little arrow telling you how your score changed from the previous day, and if you scroll down a bit, you get some recommendations on how to increase your energy score. Going further down, you see your energy score factors, and those include your sleep time average, your sleep time consistency, your bed wake time consistency, your sleep timing, your previous day's activity, your sleeping heart rate, and your sleeping heart rate variability. I'll get a bit more into what all these mean in a moment, but just know that these are the 7 factors that are checked. Scrolling further down, you can also see your average heart rate during sleep and your average heart rate variability during sleep. And this is measuring the difference in time between beats. So the higher this number is, the more sporadic your heartbeats are. Further down, you can see your low and high skin temperature readings during your sleep, and it tells you whether or not it was within your personal range. But you'll need to get a few days of sleep tracking first in order for it to know what your personal range is. And the last thing you see is your respiratory rate during sleep, and that's how many times you breathe per minute. And the last option on this page is show on phone. The first time you tap that, it's going to give you an explanation of what energy score is. And at the end of it, you'll have to confirm your activity level. Once you go through the initial setup process, it's going to take you to the energy score page of the Samsung Health application. And at the very top, you can select previous days and see what your score was for those days, and you can see what the recommendations were for those days as well. If you tap this little eye icon, you get a real deep dive into what exactly the energy score is, how it's calculated, as well as all the different metrics and deep dives into what each metric means. Scrolling further down, you can see those energy score factors again, but this time if you tap one of them, you can see how each one of those score factors are changing over time. And if you tap the little eye icon next to one of them, you'll get a detailed explanation of exactly what's being measured and how to improve it. Scrolling below the energy score factors, you'll see graphs of your heart rate during your sleep, your heart rate variability, and your skin temperature during sleep. And at the very bottom, you get your average respiratory rate during sleep. And again, tapping one of the eye icons brings up that detailed description. If you tap this bar graph in the upper right corner, you'll be able to see a 7-day, 31-day, or 12-month graph of your energy score. And if you tap this little icon here, it'll actually remove any days where your energy score wasn't measured and shrink the graph together. If you tap the 3 dots on this page, then About Energy Scores, it'll take you back to that energy score description page. And tapping the 3 dots from the main page, again, just brings up that energy score information. The exercise panel doesn't show you any extra information on the panel itself. Instead, it's just a shortcut to all of your exercises. And this page shows all of your recent workouts and recommended workouts. If you see this icon above a workout, that means that particular workout can use your GPS to track your location throughout the workout. If it can't use the GPS, then you won't see the icon. If you want to hide some workouts that you never do, you can just long press on one of them, then scroll through your exercises, select all the workouts that you don't actually do, then tap Hide, and all of those exercises will be removed. Underneath every workout, you'll see either a settings option or a target, and there's different types of targets depending on the workout. If you tap the target, you'll be able to tap the word target and change it to a different target, and different workouts will have different types of targets. So as you can see, these are all walking and running related targets, but if I tap the target under lateral raises, you'll see that I get different types of targets. So here I can either have no target, a duration, or I can change my reps and sets. But one of the downsides with this is that the reps number is always going to be the same. So let's say you do 15 reps, and you're going to do 6 sets of that, but maybe for some of your sets you want to do maybe 10 reps with a heavier weight. That's not possible from this page. But there is a way to do that, and I'm going to show you how to do it in a little bit. And for any workout that can track reps, like maybe arm curls, if you scroll down a bit further, you can actually pause the workout once you've hit your rep count, and that'll stop your Galaxy Watch from counting reps when you're just grabbing a different set of weights. And scrolling further down, you can also have it check your position before starting. So what this does is instead of counting reps immediately, it's going to wait until you get to a start position. So for arm curls, it'll be arms down by your side. And once you're in position, your watch will make a ding sound, letting you know that it's ready to start counting reps. And again, that's just a feature to help the Galaxy Watch not count reps when you're just getting in position. Depending on the workout you're doing, the next few options are going to be a bit different. So when you're doing something that has reps like arm curls or sit-ups, you're going to have a workout screen and heart rate zones option. If you tap the workout screen option, then tap data screen 1, you'll be able to tap one of the zones and change what's shown in that zone. And if you scroll up from here, you can actually change the layout as well. So if you want a lot more information, you can use this layout, and that adds 6 panels. Or if you want a more focused layout, you can tap this one, and it gives you just 2 panels. You also have the option to just disable that data screen if you just want basic information. And the heart rate zone screen is a screen that's below your data screen. And this basically gives you a measure of the intensity of your workout based on your heart rate. Below the heart rate zones option is a section that applies to all of your workouts. And the first option here is audio guide. And if this is enabled, your Galaxy Watch is going to talk to you whenever you hit certain milestones during your workout. This could be when you complete a lap, every 30 minutes, when you've reached a target, or other things related to your workout. And screen always on is an option that keeps your screen on during the workout. So if this is enabled and I dismiss my screen, you'll see that the screen just gets a little bit dimmer, but all of the workout information is still there. And if I tap it, it'll get brighter and show me a bit more information. This is great for workouts where you need to constantly check where you're at in the workout. Maybe you need to stay in a specific heart rate zone and you want that screen to always stay visible. But if you're doing a workout where you don't always need to see this screen, you can save a considerable amount of battery life by backing out of here, going into your settings, scrolling to the bottom again, and disabling the screen always on option. And one more quick thing to point out is that if you have the always on display enabled, you actually won't be able to disable this feature because your always on display is enabled. So you would first have to disable that by tapping the always on display toggle, then you can disable it here. If I jump into the running coach settings and scroll down to the running coach specific section and tap workout screen, you'll notice that it's a bit different than the arm curls workout. Because instead of just having one data screen, I get two data screens, and this edits the exact same way as the first data screen. And further down, I get the running specific screen called asymmetry. And this just tells you in real time whether you're favoring your left or right leg when you're running. Backing out of this screen, you see that there are some new options here as well. And there's a lot of different options depending on the type of workout you're doing. So many that it would take like another 20 or 30 minute video to go through all of them. So just know that these settings change depending on the type of workout, and it's definitely worth going through and editing them. If you don't see the workout you're looking for in this list, you can scroll all the way to the end and tap this plus icon. Then you can tap select exercise and add any one of the dozens of exercises that are available. You can obviously just scroll through them to try to find the one you want, and it's all alphabetical to make it a bit easier. Or if you go all the way back up to the top, you can tap categories and search in specific categories instead. Once you find the workout you want, just tap it, and it'll be added to your workout screen. If we scroll all the way back to that add page again, and tap that, you'll see that you can also create a new exercise. And this is a custom exercise in case you couldn't find it in the select exercises menu. So if I tap this, I can tap this text here to give it a name. And once you're done entering that, just tap the check mark. And if you scroll down a bit, you can change the type of data to record. So you can record the duration and calories burned without a GPS, record the distance, speed, and route with the GPS, or you could do something with sets and rest. Further down, you can select the category that it should go into, and you do get a bunch of different categories to pick from. Once you pick your category, just tap save, and the workout will be added to your workout screen. If you want to customize the workout further, just tap the settings, and you can change whatever parameters you want. And once you've changed your settings, when you back out, those changes will be reflected at the bottom. If I scroll all the way to the end and jump back into that add section again, and scroll down a bit further, you'll see this create workout routine option. Now this one is incredibly powerful because it allows you to chain a bunch of different workouts together into a single workout. Not only does it make it easier for you to track your workout routine, but the data is all saved together as a single large workout. So if we tap this, you can tap the text here to change the name of the routine. I'm just going to leave it as that for now. And if we scroll down a little bit, you get the option to add a warm-up, and by default, it's a 5-minute warm-up, but if you tap this, you can change how long you want the warm-up to be, or you could have the warm-up run until you stop it. I'm going to switch back to a timed warm-up and tap done. Then I can add my exercises. So if I go to all exercises here and I just start tapping some random exercises, then tap add, you'll see that all of those exercises are added below. And if I tap one of the exercises, I can set the target for that specific exercise, as well as change all the other parameters for that exercise that I showed you guys earlier. If I back out of here, I can also set my breaks. So if I tap this, right now it's set to a manual break, but I can give myself a timed break for any amount of time, or no break at all. And if I scroll further down, I can apply that change to all the workouts. So if I back out of here, you'll see that there's no break between any of them. And one quick thing to point out about breaks that's not super intuitive is that if I do want to add a break back in between two specific workouts, you first need to tap it, then go to the bottom and first disable the apply to all breaks option. If I were to change the break type without changing this first, it would have applied that break type to all of the workout breaks. But since that was already disabled, if I back out here, you'll see that I only get a 2-minute break between these two workouts, but not between any of the other workouts. If you scroll to the bottom of your workouts, you'll be able to add more exercises, or if you want to remove one of the workouts, you can just long press it. That'll bring you up to the editing menu. You can then scroll down to find the workout you want to remove and tap the minus icon. And if you want to reorder them, all you have to do is long press the arrows, then drag up or down. Scrolling further down, you have this cooldown option as well. And if you enable this, your default cooldown is going to be 5 minutes. And if you tap that, you can change the cooldown time or switch it to a manual cooldown time that ends when you manually stop it. Once you've made your changes, just tap done. And at the very bottom, you get the option to completely remove all breaks and enable a circuits option. And what the circuits option does is allow you to repeat the routine multiple times. And if I tap this, I can choose from doing the workout twice, all the way up to 5 times, or if I tap custom, I can extend that all the way up to 10 times. Once you're done making all of these changes, just tap save. and the routine will be added to your workouts page. And whenever you tap one of your routines, you'll actually be able to make any changes to any specific workout before you start it. And if you want to edit more details with the routine, you can scroll all the way to the bottom and tap the edit option. And this takes you right back to the routines menu that you were just in. If I back out of here, you can also choose to edit it on your phone. And this will obviously open the routine on your phone, making it a bit easier to edit. And here's a quick bonus tip. If you ever want to quickly add a new routine or edit your routines from within the Samsung app on your phone, all you have to do is tap the More option on your Workouts panel, then tap the plus icon, then tap Create New Routine. And if you want to edit an existing routine, just long press it, then tap Edit. And while you're doing a workout routine, once you finish an exercise, you just swipe to the left, then tap Next. And that'll take you to the next exercise. And at any point during your routine, you can just swipe to the left, then tap this routine option, and you can see exactly where you are in your routine. And if you accidentally skipped part of your routine, you can actually just tap one of the previous exercises and restart it. Just keep in mind any previous data will be deleted. And in case you're wondering, during the rest periods, you get a little meter that fills up as you get closer to completing the rest period. But you can, of course, skip the break if you want to. And once you've made it to the very end of your routine, if you swipe over, you'll see that the next button doesn't work anymore. So instead, just tap Finish to finish your routine. Then you'll see the routine name at the top, how much time it took to complete the whole routine, how many calories were burned during the routine, and the number of workouts done during that routine. And if you scroll down, you'll be able to see your heart rate through the entire routine. Then you'll see stats for all of the other workouts. And if you tap one of them, you'll see any badges that you got for that particular workout. Then you'll be able to see the specific details for that workout, including your heart rate during that portion of the workout. And if I scroll down here, you can see even more information. And here's a quick bonus tip. If you did any workout that can track weight or reps, you can actually tap that and change the number of reps that was completed for each individual set. And if you tap this scale option, you'll also be able to change the units for the weight, and obviously the amount of weight as well. And further down on the main page, you also get a Show on Phone option. If you tap this, you'll be able to see more workout details on your phone. And you can tap the Workout Details section to see more details here, or you can tap one of the specific workouts and see all the details just for that workout. If we jump back into the Add menu and scroll to the bottom, you'll see this Add from Phone option, and if you tap this, it'll take you to the Add Exercises pages on your phone where you can quickly add a new exercise. And if you want to change the order of these workouts, you can actually just scroll all the way to the end and tap Edit on Phone, and that's going to open up the editing menu for your exercises on your phone. From here, you can grab these arrows and move the exercises around as you need. This is also where you can select previously made workouts and delete them. Or you can select one of the default workouts that Samsung has built in and hide it. And if I back out of this page, you'll see these star icons on the right side, and if I tap one of them, it'll add that workout to my favorites. And you're limited to just 3 favorite workouts. And this favorites menu just gives you quick access to your workouts from your main Samsung Health page. So as you can see here, there are my 3 favorites. And it also sets those to be the first 3 workouts on my workouts page on the Galaxy Watch. The Galaxy Watch Ultra has some exclusive features within the Exercise app. For starters, if you scroll all the way to the left, you'll see this new multi-sport option. And if you tap this, you'll see that this is for things like tracking triathlons and other similar sports. If you tap Add at the bottom, you can create your own custom multi-sport activity, but you're limited to these 7 exercises. You have to add at least 2 exercises, and you can have a maximum of 3. Once you tap Add, you can then select each exercise and change their target or other parameters. Once you've selected your targets, just scroll to the bottom and tap Save. And if I back out of here, you'll see that new multi-sport activity was added to the bottom. And when you tap one, you get the option to change the targets before starting it, or even edit the entire multi-sport activity. This next Galaxy Watch Ultra exclusive feature also works with the Galaxy Watch 5 Pro. And it works with the running, walking, biking, or hiking exercises. If you tap the settings below one of those types of workouts and scroll down a bit, you'll see this route option, and if you tap this, you can select custom routes based on GPX files. And what these do is give you turn-by-turn navigation for that route. And you can see here, if I tap one of those routes, it'll actually show me the entire path and give me the option to reverse the route. If you want to add new GPX files to your watch, just scroll to the bottom of the routes page and tap Add on Phone. That'll open up the Add Route page in the Samsung Health application on your phone. If you've previously downloaded a GPX file, you can import it directly from your My Files app. If I tap GPX here, I'll see all the GPX files I've downloaded. Then I can just select one and tap Done to add that to my watch. The other option is to search for a route. And if you tap the search icon, you can search for areas nearby, select a route that's close to the distance you want to go, then it will show you a preview of that route. And if you tap this little arrow, you'll be able to give the route your own name and even reverse the route if you'd like. Then just tap save, and you'll get the option to start the route immediately with your watch or phone, or you can tap not now and just save it to your watch instead. You can also create your own GPX file from previous workouts. To do that, open up the Samsung Health app on your phone, then scroll down to your Workouts This Week section and tap that. Then tap the workout that you want to turn into a GPX file. Then tap the 3 dots in the upper right corner and tap Save Route. This will let you give the route a name or reverse the route if you'd like. Then when you tap Save, you can either immediately do that route again or tap Not Now to save it for later. The next Galaxy Watch Ultra exclusive feature, which again is also available with the Galaxy Watch 5 Pro, is only available when you're doing a walking, running, biking, or hiking exercise. If you're in the middle of one of those exercises and you swipe over one screen to the settings and tap that, you'll see this track back feature. What this does is give you turn-by-turn navigation to go back the exact same way you came during that workout. And the last Galaxy Watch Ultra exclusive feature, which is not available on the Galaxy Watch 5 Pro, is at the bottom of this settings page, and you'll see this option here called Exercise Power Saving. If you tap this and enable this feature, it's going to make some extreme power saving changes, and this will let you track your exercise for up to 48 straight hours if you started with a full charge. The Workouts This Week panel shows you how much time you spent working out for that week, and this only counts working out with exercise tracking enabled. If you start working out but you're not actively tracking it with the watch, then it won't count here. If you tap the panel, you'll be able to see how many workout sessions you had and the total calories burned while doing exercises. If you scroll down a bit, you'll get something really cool. So not only does this show all of your previous workouts, but if you had a custom routine that you had set up and you did a workout there, all of that is in this one block. So it was 55 calories burned for the entire routine. But if I tap this, I can then see each individual workout that was in that specific routine. I can then tap one of those workouts and see even more detail. And if I back out of here and tap an exercise that wasn't part of a routine but was just a single exercise, it'll take me right to the exercise information for that particular workout. So this is a great way to really quickly see all of your workout details for the entire week. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom and tap Show on Phone, it'll show you all of your workout details on your phone, and you can also tap different days. And if you scroll down, you can also just scroll through your history as well. If you tap this calendar icon in the upper right corner, you'll be able to see all of your workout sessions for the month. And the larger green circles mean you worked out a lot more on those days versus the other days. And you can, of course, scroll through previous months as well. And if you tap all exercises, you can actually sort by specific exercises. So if you only want to see the days where maybe you did push-ups, you'll see only those days here. And if you tap that, you'll be able to see just the push-up exercises. And tapping the 3 dots in the upper right corner just hides auto-recorded data. And these are workouts that were recorded with the auto detect feature, which I'll show you guys in a minute. If you tap this upwards arrow, it'll show your workout trends over time. So you have a monthly timeline here, so you can see throughout the month when your most active times are. And you also have a yearly graph. So you can see here that in March, I worked out more than any other month in the year. And you can, of course, go to different years or different months as well. And tapping calories or distance changes what the graph shows. And if you tap workout details, it'll sort your workouts by whichever ones burned the most calories in the time period, which is really cool to see when you're looking at an entire year. And scrolling to the bottom shows your totals for the entire time you've ever tracked workouts using the Samsung Health application, regardless of whether you track the workouts with a phone or with one of Samsung's fitness trackers. If you tap a specific workout, you'll be able to see the details for that specific workout, and in the case of a routine, you can then tap one of the specific parts of your routine to jump into the details for that specific part of the workout. And if you want to edit the reps or weight from this page, just tap the 3 dots, then tap Edit. Then you can change the parameters from here. And there's also a notes section for tracking how you're doing on specific workouts. And this is useful for things like trying to hit personal records, because you can log things like changes to your eating or changes you made to any preparations before the workout, and that'll give you some more insights on how to beat your personal record. And if you tap the 3 dots in the upper right corner while you're on one of the workout specific pages, you'll be able to name the workout, and that lets you add a little bit more context to the particular workout. And you can also name a specific routine as well. And just to be clear, when you change the name of a routine or a workout that you've already completed, it's not changing the name of the exercise itself. As you can see here, front raises is still called front raises. So it's just giving a name to that specific exercise on that specific day. And one more quick thing I want to point out when looking at your exercise details is that depending on the exercise, you're going to get different information shown. So in this running workout, for example, I have a map of the run as well as a chart, and if I tap this little arrow, I'll see a map of the run, and if I scroll down, I'll see a graph of the run as well. And I can change from seeing the pace, or elevation, cadence, or heart rate throughout the run. And if I tap this little arrow right here, I can change what the overlay is. And this overlay can be any of the other metrics. And again, there is a super wide range of data that's shown depending on the exercise, so I'm not going to cover everything here. I just want to let you guys know that there are differences depending on your workout. The food panel shows you how many calories you've consumed for the day, and if you tap it, you'll see how close you are to your target for the day. If you tap enter, you'll be able to tap the meal type at the top, then choose between 6 different meal types. Once you've selected a meal type, you can then scroll across your digital bezel to increase or decrease the amount of calories, or swipe directly on the calorie count. Once that's selected, you can tap done, and the calories will be added. If you scroll down a bit, you'll be able to see exactly where all of your calories came from, and scrolling down even further, you'll be able to see any nutritional information based on the food you consumed that day. But this nutrition information is only available if you added specific foods using your phone, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. If you just added meals using this enter option here, then this nutritional info section wouldn't be shown. Below that, you also get the option to show everything on your phone, delete a specific meal, so you can tap a specific meal and delete it. And if you tap Set Target, you can change your calorie target. If you tap Show on Phone, the food section is going to open up in the Samsung Health application, and from here you can get much more specific with your meals. If you tap Enter Meal here at the bottom, and select a meal type, you can tap in this search box, type the name of any type of meal, then tap Search. Then you'll get a bunch of results matching that meal type. And now you can just tap the one that matches what you're searching for, tap Next. Then you can take a picture of your meal if you really want to, add more food, add just calories in case the calorie count wasn't correct. And if you scroll down a bit further, you can also save it as a custom meal. So if there's something you have all the time that involves a bunch of different ingredients that you have to manually add, saving that as a custom meal allows you to just tap that meal and all of those ingredients will be added automatically. And those custom meals are going to show up in the custom tab when you're adding a meal. So as you can see here, I have this homemade salad with chicken, and if I tap this, you'll see all of the ingredients that are added with that one meal. So once you're done with this, tap done, and now you'll also see nutritional information based on the meal you selected. And this is super helpful for figuring out what you're eating too much of and not enough of. And if you tap the arrow next to nutrition info, it'll not only give you some more information about what it's tracking, but it'll show you what specifically contributed to each one of these categories. And here's a quick bonus tip. If the thing you're eating has a barcode on it, you can tap Enter Meal, select the type, then tap this barcode icon, allow access to your camera, then you can scan the barcode and it'll automatically add that food in. And this even works for things like vitamins and other supplements. If I scan this barcode, you'll see it added right in. And once you've added some food for the day, you can come back later and just tap it to modify it. And if you tap the 3 dots in the upper right corner, then tap Delete, you can select specific meals to delete, then tap Delete at the bottom to get rid of it. Tapping the 3 dots again also lets you change your target calories for the day. You can also see your custom foods and meals, then tap one of them to edit them. And the last option is About Nutrition and Diet, and this just gives you basic information about how to have a healthy diet. If you tap this little graph icon at the top, you'll be able to see your calorie intake for the past 7 days. Obviously, I haven't been tracking mine. You can also see the past 31 days and the past 12 months. And if you tap the calories text, you can change that to macronutrients, and that'll change the details to show the macronutrients instead of the calories. And if I tap a specific month or day, I'll get specific information for that time frame. And if I tap this little icon in the bottom right corner, it'll get rid of all the months I didn't track anything so I can see more data on the screen. And this is really useful for the 31-day option, especially if you don't consistently track your food, because it allows you to really see your trends on the days that you do track your food. Because if I had turned this off on a 31-day track, it doesn't really tell me anything at all. And lastly, you can just scroll across the bottom to go through the days and months. The body composition panel gives you quick insights to your current skeletal muscle weight and your current body fat percentage. If you tap this, you'll be able to see much more detailed information about your body composition. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll be able to take a body composition measurement. You'll be asked to enter your current weight. Then you'll just place your middle finger and ring finger on the home and back buttons to start the measurement. But a huge warning and disclaimer, do not do this if you have a pacemaker or if you're pregnant. The very first time you use the body composition measurement, there is a warning about this, but it's easy to skip over, so I wanted to mention it here. And the reason for that is the way this measurement works is it sends a small electrical current through your body. So if you have a pacemaker, it might interfere with that. If you scroll to the bottom of this page, you'll see a Show on Phone option. If you tap this, you'll be able to see your previous measurements over time. And if you tap one of these options, it'll change the graph so you can see different metrics over time. If you scroll down a bit, you can tap one of the specific measurements, and you can see that specific measurement over time as well. And you can quickly switch which measurement you're looking at by tapping the different metrics. And you can obviously switch to a 7-day view or 12-month view, and you still have this little icon in the corner. And if you tap this, you'll either see every day, even days where you didn't take a measurement, or if you tap it again, you'll see just the days that you took the measurements. If you tap the 3 dots in the upper right corner, you can tap Set Targets, then tap Set New Target, and you can set weight targets, skeletal muscle targets, and body fat percentage targets. You can also change the amount of time you want to take to reach that goal. And this toggle at the bottom will remind you to take measurements on whatever days you want, and at whatever time you want. Once you've made those changes, tap Save, and then tap OK. And once you do that, you'll get some tips on how to reach your target. And if you ever want to see those tips again, just scroll down a bit and tap Tips for reaching your targets. There's a few more options in this 3-dot menu as well. You can select which data to show, and you can change it from showing your latest data to the average data. You can also see any connected Samsung accessories. And if you tap About Body Composition, it'll give you a description of what exactly it's doing and what all the different metrics mean. There's also a measurement guide at the bottom, and that'll show you how to get the best measurements. And lastly, you get your instructions for use, and that'll open up a PDF with a bunch more information about this feature. And something I forgot to point out, so I just had to grab one of my other phones to demonstrate it for you guys, is if you tap these 3 dots and hit that Set Targets option again, you'll see your targets and how close you are to reaching those targets. Scrolling further down on the main page, you'll see your body analysis, your basal metabolic rate, and any progress you've made towards your targets. And since I just set new targets, there's obviously no progress that's been made. And at the bottom of the page, you see Enter Data and Measure. If you tap Enter Data, you'll be able to manually enter your weight, skeletal muscle, body fat, and add some notes. And this is useful if you have some other way of taking body composition measurements and you just want to add them in manually. And if you tap Measure, it's going to start the measurement on your watch. You'll just have to enter your current weight, tap Confirm, then you can take the measurement. Looking back at the Galaxy Watch, if you tap How to Measure, you'll get instructions on how to get better measurements. And if you tap Note, you'll see the warning that I mentioned earlier where you should not be taking these measurements if you have a pacemaker or if you're pregnant. The heart rate panel shows your current heart rate, and if you tap it, you'll see your daily min and max range, and the white dot shows where your heart rate is right now. If you scroll down a bit, you'll see your min and max heart rate per hour, and you'll also see your sleeping heart rate in the purplish color, and your exercise heart rate in the green color. Anything that's in this reddish color is your heart rate when you're not working out or sleeping. Scrolling further down, you can see your resting heart rate range and your average resting heart rate. Below this, you may see your average heart rate while you were sleeping if you used your Galaxy Watch to track your sleep in the previous night. If you didn't track your sleep in the previous night, you won't see this graph at all. Below this, you'll see your minimum and maximum heart rate during any exercises you did in that day, and it'll show up to 3 of your most recent exercises. At the bottom, you get the Show on Phone option, and if you tap that, it'll open up the heart rate page in the Samsung Health application. At the top, you can see your heart rate tracking for previous days, and if you tap in the graph, you'll see the minimum and maximum values for that hour. If you scroll further down, you'll see your minimum and maximum heart rate each hour of the day, and you can tap View All, and when you do that, you can even see any specific workouts. And if you tap any of these, you'll see your heart rate range for the duration of that workout. And at the very bottom, you have your resting heart rate trends. If you tap this, you'll see how your resting heart rate trends over time, and you can do the 7-day time, 31 days, or 12 months. And again, you have this little icon down here to remove any days where no tracking was done. Tapping the 3 dots in the upper right corner, then tapping Accessories, shows you a list of accessories that are connected to your phone that you can use to track your heart rate. And if you tap About Heart Rate, it tells you more about the different types of measurements and what they mean. If you tap the resting heart rate text, you can switch to a min-max and see your minimum and maximum heart rate on any of these days. And if you tap a specific day, you'll be able to see the exact min and max values. If you tap the three dots from the main heart rate page, you get the option to delete any specific hourly logs, see your heart rate alert history, and to explain what the heart rate alerts are, we need to actually go back, jump back into that three-dot menu, and tap Advanced Measurement. And here you'll see the heart rate alert options. What this will do is alert you when your heart rate goes either above the high rate or below the low rate when you're resting. And if you tap the text, you can change what that rate is. This Advanced Measurements menu also gives you the ability to change from measuring your heart rate continuously to once every 10 minutes while you're still, or manual measurements only. And if you switch to manual only, when you tap the heart rate panel, you won't get quite as much information, but you will get this new button here called Measure, and if you tap that, it'll take a heart rate measurement. And if we jump back into this three-dot menu again, you also get the option to export your heart rate data, and you can choose anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 months worth of data, and you can export that either as an HTML or a PDF file. And once that's exported, you'll get a file that looks something like this, where it has your hourly heart rates and tags for what you were doing at that time. And lastly, tapping this little chart icon takes you right back to the graphs that I showed you earlier. And one last thing to point out is that if you set your measurements to be done manually only, you'll get this measure button at the bottom. And if you tap this, it'll start the measurement on your watch. Jumping back to the bottom of the heart rate section, if you tap the settings option, you'll be able to change how often the heart rate measurements are taken, as well as set those heart rate alerts. And if you tap note, it'll just remind you that the heart rate tracking is just for fitness and wellness only, not to diagnose or treat anything. The steps panel shows you how many steps you've taken for the day, and if you tap it, you can see how close you are to your step target. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see your total distance walked that day, total calories burned, and total floors climbed. Now these are floors climbed, which means it doesn't count going downstairs. Scrolling down a bit further, you can see how many steps you took in 30-minute intervals, and scrolling below that, you get a show on phone option. If you tap that, it'll take you to the steps page in the Samsung Health app. This allows you to quickly see previous days at a glance, see exactly how many steps you took in each 30-minute interval, and compare your steps to different people based on different age brackets. And tapping this little charts icon in the middle will show you a chart of your steps for every day. You can obviously swipe through those, and you can again split in 31-day or 12-month increments. Tapping the three dots in the upper right corner allows you to enable or disable frequent syncing, and you may or may not see this setting depending on which Galaxy Watch you have and which phone you're connected to. If this is enabled, it's going to sync the steps between your phone and your watch much more frequently, making sure that they both stay in sync. But it is going to use more battery life on your watch. So I personally recommend disabling this feature to save a bit of battery life. Your steps will still sync between both devices, just not as frequently. And if we tap the three-dot menu again, then About Steps, it gives you more information about the step tracking. Tapping the three dots from the main page allows you to set your target, and this is just how many steps you're going to try to get each day. And it also lets you select which sleep data to show. But honestly, I think this is a legacy feature, and some of you may not even see this feature depending on what your last Galaxy Watch was. Because as you can see here, for Galaxy Watches, the only options are the Gear S3 or older Gear devices. And it's also possible that that's just a bug in the software. But now I'm curious, let me know in the comments down below what your menu looks like. And jumping back into the heart rate section of the Galaxy Watch, you can see that your last option is to set the target from your watch. The medications panel shows you when you're due for your next medication, and if you tap this, you'll be able to see those specific medications, as well as if you missed any medications. If you tap one of the specific medications, you can set the time that the medication was taken, change how much medication was taken in half-dose intervals, and at the bottom, you can either skip that medication or take the medication. Once it's marked as taken, if you scroll down, you'll see your logged medications, and if you scroll all the way down, you can see log as needed medications, and if you tap this, you can again select the time that it was taken, and you can choose from any medications that you set up in the Samsung Health app. If we back out of here, then scroll down, you can see that you can delete any logged items. So if you logged a medication by accident, you can select it and delete that log. If you tap Show on Phone, it'll open up the medication section of the Samsung Health app. From here, I can mark other medication as taken, see medication taken on previous days, log as needed medication, add notes to that log, and if I scroll down, I can see a list of my medications. And if I tap this little arrow, I can add medications. I can do that by either adding the medication name or scanning the name with a camera. And when you start typing in a medication, it's actually going to show you all medications that have that name. If you don't see your specific medication, you can tap Add a Custom Medication. And if you do that, you'll add the custom medication name, tap Save, then you can select the type of medication, choose the strength of the medication, and you can choose these different unit types, then tap Save, and when you tap Next, you can even pick things like pill shapes or take a picture of the medication. And when you tap Next, you can also change the color of the pill. Tapping Next again lets you set the schedule for the medication, and you can also set the time, dosage, and duration of time you're going to be taking that medication below. And this would be useful if you were taking something like an antibiotic. Once you're done with all of that, it'll show a summary of your medication. Then you can add any notes or add a nickname to the medication. You can also add a number of remaining pills. And when you get close to running out of those pills, you'll get a reminder when there's a certain amount of pills left. And you can even choose how many pills to trigger the reminder with. Once you're done changing all of those settings, you can tap Save and tap No to finish or tap Yes to add another medication. Below this, you'll see drug interactions, and this will warn you if medications are going to interact with each other or if specific types of substances are going to interact with your medication. If you tap this arrow, it'll show you the different interaction factors, and if you tap that, you can deselect any factors that don't apply to you. And if I tap back, you'll see that some interactions were removed. If you tap the information icon, you get an explanation of how the drug interaction warnings work and what each one means. If I back out to the main page and tap this plus icon, that's another way to add a new medication. I can tap this calendar icon to see the medication I've taken throughout the month, and these circles will fill all the way up when I've taken all of the medication for each day. If I tap the three dots in the upper right corner, I'll be able to delete logged items, add drug allergies, and if I tap Add Allergy here, I can type in specific drug names, then it will tell me if any of the medications in the list have the allergen in it. Backing out to the main page and tapping the three dots again, we can tap the drug interactions, and that's another way to get back to your drug interactions page. You can also share your medication list with somebody. And if you tap About Medications, it'll give you information about why it's important to track the medications, why it's important to know about the drug interactions, and give you some more details about how it classifies the interactions. The cycle tracking panel will show you different information depending on where you are in your cycle. So it may show you how many days until your next cycle, how many days until you're in your fertile window, or a bunch of other information, again, depending on where you are. If you tap this panel, you'll get different information at the top, again, depending on where you are in your cycle. And at the bottom, you'll get a graph showing you with a white dot where you are in your current cycle. And if you scroll down a bit here, you can see that the pink is the predicted next cycle. You'll see that cycle range. The bluish color is the predicted fertile window. And that little blue line right there is the predicted ovulation. If you scroll down, you can enter a cycle start date. Scrolling down a bit more, you can log symptoms and moods. So if you tap Add Log here, you get your symptoms, moods, and then the next four categories are pretty personal information. Scrolling down further, it tells you that you can predict your next cycle with your skin temperature during sleep. And if you tap Set on Phone, it'll open up the skin temperature setting on your phone. And you can choose to measure your skin temperature with a Galaxy Watch or a Galaxy Ring if you have it connected. And once you've tracked a night of sleep with that feature enabled, you'll see your skin temperature that night here. And another quick thing I want to point out is that when this feature is enabled, it's going to swap places with Daily Log. So now Daily Log is going to be below the skin temperature prediction. And something I forgot to point out about the Daily Log is that if you log symptoms, they're going to show up here underneath the Daily Log text. And if you scroll to the bottom and tap Show on Phone, it'll open up the cycle tracking section of the Samsung Health app. At the top, you'll see different information depending on where you are in your cycle. And if at any point you log any symptoms, you'll get information about those symptoms in this section here. If you swipe across the top, you can see previous days. And if you swipe forward, you can see predicted dates. If you scroll down, you can see where you are in your cycle and estimated dates for different stages of the cycle. At the bottom, you'll see your skin temperature when you were sleeping. And it says you need to measure your skin temperature at least 5 nights a week to get better predictions. Scrolling further down, you get your daily log, and if you tap this, you can quickly log more symptoms. If you tap the calendar at the top, you'll be able to see a month view, and you can look forward by 2 months. Tapping the calendar again takes you to your current day, and also lets you quickly edit the log for that day. If you tap a different day, you'll see any information you had for that day, and also be able to log some symptoms. If you tap the 3 dots in the upper right corner, you'll be able to see your history, change your settings, and there are a bunch of cycle-specific settings to change. And if you scroll down on this page, you can see that you can delete all of this data as well. The 3-dot menu also has this About Cycle Tracking option, and if you tap that, it tells you how the cycle tracking works and gives you more information about it. If you tap Contact Us, you'll get a phone number and an email that's specifically for the cycle tracking feature. And lastly, you get this label option, and this gives you more information about the company that's actually doing the cycle tracking. If the cycle dates are wrong, you can tap this edit option, and if any information is wrong, you can tap the dates to change them. If you tap the three dots from the main menu, you get the same options. The water panel shows you how much water you've had that day, and if you tap it, you can quickly add more water by tapping this button right here, and it will add 8 ounces at a time. You'll also see what your water target is for the day and how close you are to getting to the target. If you scroll down, you'll see all of the water that was added and when. And scrolling further down, you get the option to delete any of the logged water. So if I tap this, I can select one of the cups of water and delete it. I can also change the cup size. So if instead of 8 ounces, I wanted a different size, I can pick from these here, or I can add a new cup. And that can be as small as 0.3 ounces or as much as 67.6 ounces. I can also set my daily target, and that can be as much as 845 ounces or as little as 0.7 ounces. If you tap Show on Phone, it'll open up the water page in the Samsung Health app where you can quickly add more water, see your water intake on previous days. You can see your individual logged water below, and if you long press them, you can select multiples and delete one or more. If you tap the graph icon at the top, you'll see the average amount of water per day. And if you tap this little icon in the corner, it'll get rid of any days that you didn't log any water and just show days where water was logged. And you can show just 7 days, 31 days, or 12 months. And the month view is going to show your average water consumption for that month. If you tap the three dots in the upper right corner, you can set your target, set your cup size, or review any of your connected Samsung accessories. And if you scroll down a bit, you can see all of the different devices that are capable of tracking water intake. AGE's index shows you your last measurement, and if you tap this, it'll give you some more information about what exactly an AGE's index is. And if you scroll to the bottom, you can tap Show on Phone. That'll open up the AGE's index on your phone, and you can see previous day's measurements. But most importantly, if you tap Learn More, you'll get more information about what AGE's index actually is, how to improve it, and how to get better measurements. And I should point out that this feature is only available on the Galaxy Watch 7, Galaxy Watch Ultra, or newer. If you tap this graph, you'll be able to see a wider range of measurements. And if you tap these three dots in the upper right corner, you can change your measurement settings, and this just either turns it on or off, and you can get back to that AGE's indexed information page. The blood oxygen panel will either show you your minimum and maximum blood oxygen in the previous night of sleep if you used your Galaxy Watch for sleep tracking, or it will show you your most recent manual measurement. If you tap it, it'll show you which night of sleep this data is from. You can also manually take a new measurement. If you scroll down to the bottom, you can tap Show on Phone, and that'll open up the blood oxygen measurement page in the Samsung Health app. From here, you can tap across the top to see different days' measurements. You'll see your blood oxygen range for the day. You can see all previous measurements for that day below that graph, and if the measurement was taken while you were asleep, you'll see the time frame that you were sleeping while those measurements were taken. There's also an icon on the right side to show you what type of measurement was taken. And if you tap one of the logs, you'll see a little graph of it, as well as any tags associated with that log. If you tap Measure, it's going to bring up the blood oxygen measurement on your watch. You'll get some recommendations on how to get a better measurement. Then you can tap OK to start your measurement. Once the measurement's taken, you get the option to add a tag, and this is just a brief description of when that measurement was taken. So if I select one of these tags, you'll see that little tag icon appear next to the measurement. And if I look back in the app, you'll see the tag right there. And manual measurements also show your heart rate during the measurement. I'll also see a dashed line wherever the latest measurement was taken. If you want to delete one of the logs, you can long press it, then tap delete down here, or you can tap the three dots in the upper right corner, tap delete, then select the log you want to delete, then tap delete. If you tap this graph icon, you can see all of your blood oxygen measurements for the past 7 days, 31 days, or 12 months. And if you tap the word all up here, you can sort by different tags. So if I tap the after exercise tag, it'll only show those measurements. If you tap the three dots in the upper right corner, then tap about blood oxygen, you'll get a pop-up explaining what this measurement is, why it's important, and how to get better measurements. Jumping back to the oxygen menu, your other options are how to measure, and this just gives you a tutorial on how to get the best measurements. And if you tap Note, you'll get a reminder that this is only for fitness and wellness only, not to diagnose any medical conditions, and that if you're concerned about your blood oxygen levels at all, you should consult a medical professional. The stress panel shows you how stressed you are at the current moment. As you can see, mine is slightly rising as we're going into this. If you tap this panel, you'll see your average stress level, and you'll see when the last measurement was taken. If you scroll down, you'll see your stress levels throughout the day, and if you scroll down a bit further, you'll get a breathing exercise. If you tap the plus or minus buttons, you can increase or decrease the total amount of time you're going to do the breathing exercise for. And when you tap start, it'll start telling you when to breathe in and breathe out. So when the flower pattern grows, you're supposed to breathe in, and when it shrinks, you're supposed to breathe out. You can also tap this microphone icon, and you'll hear sound with it. And as you can see, the breathing exercise actually does work really well. So if I scroll back up here, you can see that my stress level is now all the way down here just from doing a 1-minute breathing exercise. So I definitely recommend doing this if you're ever feeling stressed. And scrolling further down, you get a show on phone option. And if you tap this, you'll be able to see your recent stress level results, your stress throughout the day. And if you tap this graph, you'll see which specific 10-minute intervals you were at which stress level. If you tap the dates above, you can see your stress levels throughout different days. And at the bottom, you'll see your stress level measurements in 10-minute intervals. If you tap View All, you'll see all of your stress measurements for the day. And if you tap one of them, you'll see your stress level for that entire hour. If you tap the 3 dots in the upper right corner, then tap Edit, you can actually add some notes to that stress as well. So if you had a particularly stressful day and this thing is just off the charts for you, you can add some notes to help you understand why you were so stressed that day. Or conversely, if there's a really calm period of time, you can add some notes to figure out why you were so calm. And tapping the 3 dots again, you also get the option to delete that particular measurement. If you tap the 3 dots in the upper right corner here, then tap Advanced Measurement, you can switch from measuring continuously to manual measurements only. And something really important to point out here is that if you switch to manual only, you won't be getting any of these hourly measurements or this graph of your stress throughout the day. And since stress management is really important for everyone, I do recommend keeping this set to measure continuously. If I tap the 3 dots again, you see that you also get the option to delete any of your logs, and you can delete multiple logs at a time if you'd like. And if you tap About Stress, you get information about how the measurements are taken, and you also get some important information down here about how certain substances can affect your stress measurements. So if I look at my charts, I can actually look at when I drank a bunch of caffeine, and I can see the stress measurements spike up during those times. In fact, here it is right here. This big spike in stress measurement right here, this is when I drank caffeine right before this. And then I drank some more caffeine around 1 o'clock, so a little bit after that, I had another spike in stress. If you scroll down on this page, you'll see your breathing exercise, and if you tap that, you can start a breathing exercise from your phone. If you tap the settings gear, you can change how many breathe cycles you want to do, and you can change how much time you're breathing for each part of the cycle. So you can change your inhale, hold, and exhale times independently of each other. If you tap this graph icon at the top, you'll be able to see your stress level day by day, and you can change to a 31-day or 12-month view. If I tap the 3 dots in the upper right corner here, I just get back to that About Stress page. Jumping back to the stress page on the Galaxy Watch, if I tap Settings, I can choose to measure continuously or manually only. If I tap Breathe Duration, I get the same inhale, hold, and exhale time adjustments that I had on the phone. And if you tap Note, you'll be reminded that the stress measurements are just for monitoring your fitness and wellness only. The Together panel doesn't show any information on the panel itself, but if you tap it, you can see how you're doing in step challenges with your friends. So the leaderboard just shows you who has the most steps for the week, and if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see exactly how far you are behind the next person. Further down, you can see any active competitions, and it'll show you how far you are behind in that specific competition as well. Going further down, you can see a bar graph showing you the progress each of the people in the competition have made, and below that you'll see global competitions, and these are step competitions for anyone who owns a Galaxy Watch and joins that month's competition. So it shows you how close you are to the monthly goal, how many days you have left, your current rank, the number of participants, and the number of people who have already completed it. And below that, you get a Show on Phone option. And once it's open on the phone, you'll be able to do extra things like create new challenges. And you have 2 options. You can see who can get to the step target first, or who can go the furthest in a set amount of time. And you can do the challenges individually or as teams. When you create a new challenge, you can set a start date, a target, and give the challenge a title. Then when you tap Create, you can either share a link on social media to have anyone who wants to join, or you can invite specific friends. If you need to cancel a challenge for some reason, just tap it, tap the 3 dots in the upper right corner, tap Cancel Challenge, then tap again to confirm. If you tap an active challenge, you'll be able to see where everyone is in the challenge, and if you scroll down, you'll get more detailed information, or you can invite more people, or share it on social media. If you want to leave a challenge that's already started, you can tap these 3 dots in the upper right corner and tap Leave the Challenge. Back on the main page, you may also see special challenges that Samsung creates, and if you tap one of them, you can join that specific challenge. And if I back out of here and scroll down further, you'll see the monthly challenges. And the monthly challenges have these markers, and if you pass those, you get experience points. And if you get enough experience points, you'll level up. If you want to see your current level, just back out to the main page, scroll back to the top, and you'll see your level right there. And if you tap your level, you'll see how close you are to leveling up. And if you tap your profile icon here, you can edit it and add your own profile picture. You'll also see things like your badges, personal bests, challenge wins, and more on this page. And lastly, if you tap this friends option at the very top, you'll be able to either use a QR code to add new friends or invite them with a link. If you scroll all the way to the bottom of the Samsung Health page and tap Edit on Phone, you'll be able to edit the position of the panels not only in the Samsung Health app, but also on your watch. So if I wanted my workouts to be first, I could just long press that panel and drag it to the first spot. Then when I back out of here to save those changes and go into the Samsung Health app on my Galaxy Watch, you'll see that the exercise panel is now at the top. This editing mode also lets you delete panels that you're not using. So if you don't use the medications panel, you can actually just tap this little minus icon and completely remove it from this page. If you want to add it back in later on, just tap the plus icon in the upper right corner, and you can add any of the panels back in. And when you're done editing the page, just tap this back button. And something I want to point out while we're here is that the blood pressure and blood glucose measurements need to be entered manually. And while there have been some Galaxy watches that can measure blood pressure, that never seems to make it to the United States, only other countries. So depending on which Galaxy watch you have and which country you're in, the blood pressure panel may look different. And there's also this new health records section, and what this does is allow you to access all of your health records right from the Samsung Health application. That may be helpful for some people, but I prefer to keep my health records separate from my phone. The settings button at the very bottom gives you access to a bunch of general settings for the Samsung Health app. The first option changes how your heart rate measurements are taken, so it can be taken continuously, every 10 minutes, manually only, and this menu also lets you set the heart rate alerts that I showed you earlier. The next option is your stress measurements, and these can be measured continuously or manually only. Again, I do recommend keeping this to measure continuously. The sleep menu lets you enable or disable blood oxygen measurements and skin temperature measurements while you sleep, as well as enable or disable snore detection. And if you tap snore detection, it'll open the snore detection menu on your phone, and when you enable it, you also get the option to detect snoring only once or always, enable or disable audio recording of your snoring, and choose how many days to keep the recordings for before they're deleted. If you scroll further down in this page, it just tells you that you need to keep your phone near you when you're sleeping because that's what's going to record the audio. Below the sleep menu is your AGE's index toggle, so you can either turn that off or on, and if you tap the text, it'll give you some recommendations for getting more accurate results. Below that is predict period with skin temp, so you can either enable or disable that here. Further down, you get your daily activity alerts, and these are the notifications that have to do with your daily activity, and they tell you if you're getting close to your steps, active time, or active calories goals. So if you don't want those notifications popping up, you can just jump into these settings and disable the daily activities notifications. I personally like having those on, so I'm going to re-enable that. Auto detect workouts will automatically start exercise tracking if it detects one of these specific workouts. And if you tap the text, then scroll down a bit, you can disable workout detection for any workouts that you don't actually do. And in case you're wondering, a dynamic workout is the workout that's started if your watch can't figure out what type of workout you're doing. And if I scroll back up here, you'll see that you can also tap on walking, running, or bike, and you can choose whether or not to record your location. You can then have it ask every time to record your location, approximate your location, or give you precise location. And at the very bottom, you have this alert option, and what this does is basically give you a notification on your watch letting you know that a workout was detected and that exercise tracking was started. So if you'd rather have it just start tracking those exercises without notifying you, you can disable the alert. Below activities to detect, you get your inactive time alerts, and if you enable this, you get a notification after 50 minutes of inactivity telling you to get up and move around for a bit. This is useful if you have a desk job and find yourself just sitting throughout the entire day without getting up. This will help you remind you to actually get up and stretch your legs a little bit throughout the day. And if you tap the text, you can choose the start time and end time for when you're going to be getting these alerts. And you can also choose which specific days of the week you want to get the alerts for. Towards the bottom, we get this Make Visible to Other Devices option, and if you tap this, it'll make your Galaxy Watch visible to other devices like maybe a smart treadmill. If you tap Share Data with Devices and Services, then Health Platform, you can allow third-party apps to access all of these health metrics, and you can choose to allow all of these, or you can disable specific ones if you'd prefer. If you tap Exercise Machines, you can grant those permission to show your heart rate on the machine, and even get access to your profile information to give you more accurate calorie calculations. Scrolling further down, you get this third-party apps option, and if this is enabled, third-party applications will have access to your heart rate and your calories burned. And this is important if you're not going to be using Samsung's built-in apps for tracking some of your exercises. If we back out to the main settings page and scroll down a bit more, our last option here is the privacy option. And this just enables or disables location information for the Google Map platform and the weather channel. But depending on which third-party apps you have, you may also see some extra options here as well. Now that we're through the Samsung app, there's some other really important things you guys need to know about Samsung's health features. And to see those, we need to go back to our watch face, swipe up to see our apps, and tap this app here. This will open up the Samsung Health Monitor app. And if it's your first time opening this application, you may have to accept some permissions and install the Samsung Health Monitor app on your phone. And something really important to point out here is that this only works when connecting your Galaxy Watch to a Samsung phone. If you're connected to a non-Samsung Android device, you won't have these options. So with that out of the way, if you tap sleep apnea, you'll get a quick warning telling you not to use it if you're pregnant or have temporary symptoms that impair your breathing, like having the flu, asthma, or allergies, because the results may be inaccurate if you have one of those conditions. So once you've read that, tap continue, and you can enable the sleep apnea measurement feature. Then you'll get some tips on getting the best readings, and when you tap OK, the sleep apnea tracking will be activated. And in order to get results for the sleep apnea tracking, you need to wear your watch to sleep for at least 2 nights. If you tap ECG, you'll be shown how to get the best measurement. Then you can tap OK, and lightly rest your finger on the home button, and you see that the ECG starts. And what this is doing is checking for something called atrial fibrillation, which is an irregular heartbeat. And it's also important to point out that this never checks for a heart attack, it's only checking for atrial fibrillation. Once the measurement's done, you'll get your result, and sinus rhythm means the result is normal. If you scroll down on this result, you'll see your average heart rate, and you can also add some symptoms. So if you had any of these symptoms when you took the measurement, you can add them to the log. And once you've added the symptom, you can tap save, and you'll see the symptom added there. And at the very bottom, it tells you can view your entire ECG in the Samsung Health Monitor app on your phone. Jumping back to the phone, if we open up the Samsung Health Monitor app here, you'll see any recent ECG recordings, as well as the symptoms for that recording. And if you tap on one, you can see the entire recording. And you can tap share this report to generate a PDF to share with your doctor. If I back out of here, I can also see a history of all of my ECG readings and sort them by the type of reading. If I back out of here again, you'll see that there's a sleep apnea tab at the bottom, and this tells you how close you are to completing your sleep apnea measurements, and you can also view a history of your sleep apnea measurements. And further down, you get some recommendations on how to get the best measurements, when not to use the feature, how the feature works, and about sleep apnea itself. The last really important setting in the Samsung Health Monitor app is found in this 3-dot menu, then in Settings, then Notifications, and it's this irregular heart rhythm toggle here. This is different than an ECG report because the ECG requires you to put your finger on the home button and start the measurement manually. What the irregular heart rhythm measurement does is if you have continuous heart rate measuring turned on, it's going to constantly monitor your heart rhythm, and if it detects something that's abnormal, you're going to get a notification on your watch. And at that point, you can take a full ECG to see if anything's going on. So if you have any concerns about your heart at all, you're going to want to make sure that this is enabled. Besides the features within the Samsung Health application, if you swipe to the right of your watch face, there are a ton of Samsung Health specific tiles. You get a food tile which shows your current calorie intake for the day, your target for the day, and if you tap enter, you can quickly add the calories for a specific meal. And if you tap the calorie number, it'll take you to the food section of the Samsung Health app. You also get a water intake tile with a button to quickly add more water. And this quantity reflects what's in the Samsung Health application. So if I tap the text and scroll to the bottom and change the cup size to something different, like maybe 16.9 fluid ounces, you'll see that reflected down here. You also get a heart rate tile that tells you your current heart rate, and it also shows your minimum and maximum heart rate for the day. And if you change your heart rate measurements from measure continuously to either measure every 10 minutes or manual only, the heart rate tile wouldn't show your minimum and maximum values anymore, and you get this little measure button at the bottom to quickly take a heart rate measurement. And if you tap the text, it opens up the heart rate section of the Samsung Health application. You also get a sleep tracking tile, which shows you your sleep score for the previous night and how long you slept. And if you tap this, you'll get more information about your previous night's sleep. You get an energy score tile, which shows your energy score for the day and how it compares to the previous day's energy score. And if you tap this, it'll take you to the energy score page in the Samsung Health app where you can see more details. The blood oxygen tile shows your minimum and maximum blood oxygen for the previous night of sleep, and if you tap measure, it'll take a blood oxygen measurement, and then you'll just see your latest measurement there. There's also a steps tile, which shows how many steps you've taken for the day and how close you are to your target, and it even gives you a percentage of your target at the bottom. And if you tap this tile, it takes you to the steps section of the Samsung Health application where you can see more data. The next tile is the stress tile. It shows how stressed you currently are, and if you're feeling super stressed, you can tap the breathe text, then start one of the breathing exercises. And once again, you can see that the breathing exercises do work pretty well. And if you tap the stress text, it'll take you into the stress section of the Samsung Health application. The next tile is the ECG tile. This just lets you take a quick ECG recording by tapping record, tapping OK, and resting your finger on the home button. The next tile is the daily activity tile, which shows you how close you are to reaching your daily goals. And if you tap this tile, it takes you into the daily activity section of your Samsung Health application, and you can scroll down and see more details. If you want to see a bunch of information at the same time, you could use the health summary tile. By default, you can see your steps, heart rate, stress level, and your previous night's sleep score. And if you long press it and tap edit, you can tap one of the sections and change it to show something different. So if I tap exercise, for example, and a specific exercise, and accept the changes, I'll be able to quickly start that exercise by tapping on it. And tapping on any of the other icons will take you to that part of the Samsung Health app where you can see more information. There's also a body composition tile, which shows your skeletal muscle and body fat percentage, and it even has meters along the sides to show you where you are in those ranges. If you tap measure, you can quickly start a measurement after you enter your current weight, and if you tap the center of the tile, it'll take you to the body composition page in the Samsung Health app where you can see a bunch more information. And at the top, it shows you when the last measurement was taken. If you log your medications, you get access to the medications tile, and this shows you either an upcoming medication or missed notifications if the time's already passed. Tapping on it opens up the medication section of the Samsung Health app, and if you tap log, you can log the specific medication that was shown on the tile. There's an exercises panel, which is excellent for quickly accessing any of your favorite exercises. If you long press this tile, you can edit it and swap out any of the exercises with something that you do more often. And once those exercises are selected, all you have to do is tap one, and it'll immediately start that exercise. And if an exercise is currently running, it'll highlight that in white. You can then tap that one, and it takes you to the exercise tracking page. And if you tap the more icon, it's a shortcut to your exercises page where you can see all of your favorite and recent exercises. So this tile makes it way faster to get into your favorite exercises. There's an AGE's index tile, which just shows your most recent AGE's index reading with a white dot. And if you tap the text, it'll show you a bit more information about the reading, and you can also see it on your phone to get even more information, or jump into the settings and disable it. If you use menstrual cycle tracking, there's a tile for that as well, and it'll show your most recent night's skin temperature, as well as information that changes depending on where you are in your cycle. And if you tap the text, it'll take you to the cycle tracking page of the Samsung Health application. If you use the Together feature to compete with other people in step challenges, there's a dedicated tile for that as well, and it'll show you which place you're in, the name of the challenge, and the target for that challenge. And if you tap it, you can see the results for that challenge. As you can see, I just narrowly lost this challenge. An incredible feature that's built right into the Samsung Health application on your phone is the ability to watch workout videos for free. To do that, just tap the Fitness tab at the bottom, then scroll through the workouts, and tap on any workout that has this play button in the corner. You'll then get a description of the workout, a difficulty level and the duration of the workout, whether or not you need any equipment, and the purpose of the program. You can then tap Start Workout, and when you tap Start, it's actually going to start the workout on your watch as well, and in a moment, you'll see that my heart rate actually shows up on the video. What's even more incredible is that if you pull the notification shade down, then pull down again to get to your quick toggles, and if you tap this Smart View option, you'll see a list of any nearby TVs that support screen mirroring, and if you mirror it to that TV, you'll actually be able to watch the workout video on your TV and see your heart rate details on the TV as well. And that's because it's literally going to put everything that's on this screen onto your TV. And once you finish that workout, you'll get workout details just like any other exercise. If you want to master the Galaxy Watch, definitely check out this guide by clicking this link here. Or you could check out this video instead if you just want to see some incredible Galaxy Watch features. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications if you want to see more deep dive videos just like this. That's it for this tech episode. God bless, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.